On the night of her 52nd birthday, Margaret Dawson opened her front door expecting guests, maybe a forgotten bouquet or a half-hearted apology from her husband. Instead, he brought his mistress, 25 years younger, wearing her grandmother's diamond necklace, the same one he'd claimed to have sold a decade ago to save their home. But that wasn't even the worst part. With a smile, as cold as winter glass, he said, "Maggie, I thought tonight would be the perfect moment for you to meet the woman I'm leaving you for." That's when Margaret laughed, not because she was okay, but because just days earlier, she'd already discovered everything: the hidden bank accounts, the fake passports, and the truth that would send him running for his life. What follows isn't just a story of betrayal. It's a story of a woman who turned her own heartbreak into a weapon and uncovered a secret so dangerous it could destroy everything her husband built. And the best part? He never saw it coming. Would you stay silent or fight back? Stay with us. This story only gets deeper, darker, and more dangerous. You're not going to want to miss this. On the evening of my 52nd birthday, my husband brought a guest I never expected. She was stunning, young, polished, maybe 27 at most. Her honey blonde hair gleamed under the chandelier I'd personally chosen for our dining room, back when I still believed in building a life together. But it wasn't her age or beauty that stole my breath. It was the necklace. Wrapped around her delicate throat was a string of old-world diamonds, the heirloom that had belonged to my grandmother. The same one Jonathan Prescott swore he had to sell 10 years ago to save us from losing the house. I remembered crying for days, mourning both the necklace and the truth it symbolized. That I had married a man who could part with family legacy as easily as he forgot anniversaries. And yet here it was, sparkling, worn by another woman. With a grin that didn't reach his eyes, Jonathan said, "Maggie, I thought tonight was the perfect moment for you two to meet. This is Sierra." "Sierra, of course. I'll be gone in the morning," he continued casually. "The divorce papers will be with my lawyer. Sierra and I are heading out for a year-long trip around the world." He clapped a hand on Sierra's shoulder like he was showing off a prized pet. "My true love." I looked at the cake, still unlit. Chocolate? His favorite? How twisted was that? I started laughing. Not a gentle, amused chuckle. No, a laugh that came from the pit of my stomach and shot up through 30 years of buried rage, betrayal, and quiet acceptance. Jonathan's smug little smirk twitched. Just for a second. But I saw it. And so did Sierra, who suddenly looked unsure, shifting in her seat, her fingers brushing the diamonds like they could anchor her. He narrowed his eyes. "What's so funny, Maggie?" I smiled sweetly. "Nothing, darling, sit. There's cake." With the calm of a woman who had cooked far too many birthday meals for an ungrateful husband, I served 2 plates. Sierra looked afraid to eat. Jonathan looked like he wanted to throw his at the wall. "How long has this been going on?" I asked, my knife slicing through the frosting with surgical precision. "Maggie," Jonathan said with that condescending tone I'd learned to loathe, "let's not make this harder than it needs to be. People grow apart." "That's not what I asked." I placed a slice in front of Sierra, then leaned in slightly. "That necklace," I said quietly, "has been through 2 world wars. It crossed an ocean in my grandmother's pocket when she fled Vienna. Did he tell you that?" Sierra didn't answer. Jonathan stepped in. "The past is irrelevant. The future is a lawyer's signature away." I cut in. "I know." I returned to the kitchen, poured myself a glass of wine. My hand didn't shake, not even a tremor. "You know, John," I began as I poured, "after 30 years of marriage, I know your patterns. Like how you hide things in the same spots, or how you use the kids' birthdays as passwords, or how you still haven't figured out that your secret drawer in your office isn't secret at all." He stiffened. "You went through my things?" "No," I replied, sipping the wine. "I didn't have to. You haven't changed in decades. Why would you start now?" He stood. "We're leaving. You might want to check your email first," I said. "Or your bank accounts. Or maybe your lawyer." He stopped. Sierra blinked. "What's going on?" "You see," I continued, While you were planning your little dramatic exit, thinking you'd leave me broke and humiliated, I was hiring a forensic accountant. His hand twitched. Did you really think I didn't know about the accounts in the Caymans? Or the properties in your brother's name? Or the shell corporations? Please, you're not nearly as clever as you think. Sierra looked stunned. Wait, what? Oh, and that necklace? I said, voice dropping to a whisper. Stolen property. Already reported. I'm sure the police will be curious. You're bluffing, Jonathan hissed. Am I? I took another sip, letting the silence do the rest. He grabbed Sierra's arm. Sele, we're leaving. Don't forget, I called after them. I changed the locks. You'll need a new place to stay tonight. The door slammed. The silence that followed was the loudest thing I'd ever heard. And then, just when I thought the night couldn't get stranger, my doorbell rang. I opened it cautiously. The man standing there looked like he hadn't slept in days. Salt and pepper hair, mid-40s, with a deep tan that said he worked outdoors, and a tension in his posture that made my stomach twist. Are you Margaret Dawson? He asked urgently. Yes, I replied. We need to talk, he said, glancing over his shoulder. It's about your husband. And if I'm right, you're in serious danger. What would you do if your spouse introduced their lover on your birthday? Would you stay composed like Maggie, or unleash chaos? Do you think Sierra is truly innocent, or is she hiding something too? Does youth always mean naivety? What secrets do you think the mysterious man at the door is about to reveal? Who is he really? And why now? What would you have done differently if you were in Maggie's shoes? Let me know in the comments, and tell me which twist shocked you the most so far. I didn't know whether to let him in or slam the door shut, but something about the man, his eyes, the tremble in his voice, the way he looked over his shoulder like he was being hunted, made me trust him. At least enough to listen. Come in, I said, stepping aside. He moved fast, like someone who couldn't afford hesitation. As I closed the door behind him, he paused in the foyer, his eyes locking on the birthday cake still sitting on the dining table. I'm sorry to interrupt your night, he said, but it seems like your celebration was already disrupted. You could say that. I motioned toward the living room. Let's sit. I assume you're not here with birthday wishes. He gave a tight, humorless smile and sat on the edge of the couch. His fingers were laced tightly together, knuckles white. My name is Ethan Walker. I worked with your husband, Jonathan, at Prescott & Co. Financial for the last 5 years. At least, that's what I thought. I raised an eyebrow. You thought? I started noticing irregularities, transfers, hidden client accounts. At first, I chalked it up to poor bookkeeping. Then I realized he was funneling money millions through offshore banks using fake identities and proxies. Are you telling me he's committing fraud? Ethan didn't flinch. I'm telling you he's been doing it for years. And now that everything's unraveling, he's planning to vanish, with Sierra, with the money, and leave behind anyone who might cause problems. I let that sink in. My stomach turned. And you think I'm a loose end, I said quietly. Ethan nodded. So am I. Last week someone broke into my apartment. Nothing stolen, but my files were moved. Yesterday my car brakes were tampered with. I felt the air grow colder. And now you're here, I said. Why? Because I found something, he said, reaching into his coat. He pulled out a small USB drive and set it on the coffee table between us. Everything I've uncovered. Emails, wire transfers, names. I made a copy. You need to see this, Margaret. Because it doesn't stop at money. There are other things. Other things? I echoed. Ethan hesitated. There's a woman, Rachel Monroe. You may know her as Claire Donovan. My breath caught in my throat. That name hasn't been spoken in this house for decades. She's not dead, Ethan said. And she's been receiving money from Jonathan every single month, for almost 30 years. I stared at him. When I confronted him about her a long time ago, I said slowly, he told me she died. Car crash, closed casket funeral. I believed him. He lied. And now, she might be the only one who can tell us what Jonathan's truly hiding. Before I could reply, my phone buzzed. A text. Jonathan, we need to talk. I'm coming back to the house. Be there in 20. Ethan read it over my shoulder. You need to leave now. My car? He might have already tracked it. Do you have cash? ID? A place to go? I nodded. A few essentials upstairs. My passport, some hidden jewelry, enough to disappear for a while. He handed me a business card. No name. Just a number. Burner phone. If you need to reach me, use this. But don't stay in one place too long. As I ran upstairs to pack, adrenaline flooded my veins. 30 years of carefully arranged domesticity crumbled with every item I tossed into my bag. I grabbed the velvet pouch with my mother's wedding ring, a few documents, and the USB drive. My phone buzzed again. Another text. But this time it wasn't from Jonathan. Unknown number. Please don't leave yet. I need to talk to you. It's about Jonathan. I'm outside. Please, I'm alone. I peeked through the upstairs window. A sleek black car I didn't recognize was parked behind my sedan. The passenger door opened. Sierra stepped out. Gone was the poised, smug confidence. Her makeup was smudged, her eyes swollen. She looked terrified. My pulse kicked up a notch. I grabbed my bag and headed down. Ethan was already by the door, hand on the handle. She's alone, I said. She texted me. Wants to talk. Do not trust her. I won't, but I'll hear her out. I stepped outside. The cool night air hit me like a slap. Sierra looked up as I approached, her voice hoarse. He's not coming, she said. What? That last message? I sent it from his phone. I needed to see you alone. Please, I think I made a mistake. A huge one. You think, I said, unimpressed. You wore my grandmother's necklace. I didn't know, she whispered. He told me it was his mother's, that you never wanted it. That sounded like him. I narrowed my eyes. Why now? Why the tears? She swallowed hard. Because I found something. Something I wasn't supposed to see. I think he's dangerous. You just figured that out? I overheard him talking to someone about cleaning up loose ends, about people who knew too much. He mentioned you, and a man named Ethan. I glanced at the house behind me. Ethan was still inside, watching. What exactly did you find? Sierra reached into her purse and pulled out a folded piece of paper. I found this in his jacket when he was in the shower. It's a payment record, offshore account, and the name on it, Rachel Monroe. I stared at the document. It gets worse, Sierra whispered. She's alive, and she's been getting money from him for 28 years. I felt like the ground shifted beneath me. I need to talk to her, I said. Tonight. I know where she is, Sierra said. Ashwood Bay, a small town near the coast. I think she's the key to everything. Behind us, headlights flared down the street. My heart dropped. Jonathan. Sierra, move, I said sharply. We have to go. Now. If you were in Maggie's shoes, would you trust Sierra or leave her behind? What would you do if the other woman suddenly claimed she was trying to save your life? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Part 3 is coming soon. We didn't have time to think. Jonathan's car was approaching fast, headlights slicing through the night like knives. Get in, I shouted to Sierra as I threw my bag into the back seat. We sped out of the driveway, tires screeching. In the rearview mirror, I saw his black SUV turn onto our street, then pause. He must have spotted the open front door. Maybe he even saw us pull away. Either way, we were running out of time. Where is she? I asked Sierra. Rachel Monroe, she said, gripping the door handle. Ashwood Bay. Cypress Hollow Road. House number 1423. It was a 3-hour drive. The farther we got from the city, the quieter Sierra became. I drove with white-knuckled focus, my mind racing through 30 years of carefully curated illusions, now shattered like glass underfoot. We arrived just after sunrise. Ashwood Bay looked like something out of a forgotten novel, fog curling around pine trees, lake waters still and silver, the air smelling like moss and old secrets. The house was modest, tucked beneath a canopy of oaks, the front porch lined with wind chimes whispering in the breeze. Rachel Monroe opened the door before we even knocked. She looked exactly as I remembered, except older, like me, her auburn hair now streaked with silver. But her eyes, those sharp, ocean-colored eyes, hadn't changed. Margaret, she said softly. I didn't know what I was expecting. Anger? Guilt? But what I saw in her gaze was something else entirely. Come in, she said, stepping back. We don't have much time. The house was warm, cozy. Books lined the walls. A kettle was steaming on the stove. A plate of toast sat untouched. You knew we were coming, I said. Ethan called, she replied. Told me everything. I glanced at Sierra, who sat down awkwardly at the edge of the couch, as if unsure where she belonged in this twisted drama. Rachel sat opposite me. I assume you want the truth. I deserve it. Rachel nodded. Jonathan, his real name is James Blackwood. Before he became Prescott, he was wanted for financial fraud at his old firm. He was facing serious prison time. I helped him disappear. New identity, new life. You helped him? I asked, stunned. I was young, Rachel said quietly, and pregnant. The words hung in the air like a punch to the ribs. You had a child? A daughter. Her name is Lily. She's 29. Lives in Seattle. She thinks her father died before she was born. I covered my mouth. My brain could barely process it. My husband had another child, a secret family, a life he buried like a corpse. He paid me off, Rachel continued. Set me up here, promised to stay away from Lily. I agreed. I was scared and tired and in love. I felt sick. I wasted 30 years on a lie, I whispered. Rachel reached across the table and placed a small USB drive in my hand. This has everything, she said. Real identity, financial records, video clips, scanned documents. Ethan and I pieced it together over the years. If anything happens to me, it's set to go public. Just then, we heard tires on gravel. We all froze. I ran to the window and looked out. Jonathan, he was alone. He found us, I breathed. Rachel stood quickly. Out the back. There's a boat dock. Take it. The lake connects to the state park on the other side. Ethan will be waiting. Sierra and I grabbed our things. As I reached the back door, Rachel stopped me. One more thing, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. The combination to the safe in my study. It's your birthday. He never forgot it, even after everything. I didn't have time to ask what she meant. Sierra and I dashed through the trees, climbed into the motorboat, and peeled off into the mist. Behind us, the shouts began, but they were distant now, lost in the roar of the engine and the rush of wind. The boat carried us across the lake like a final breath of freedom. We reached the other side, where Ethan was waiting in a dusty Jeep. We didn't speak. He simply nodded, and we drove. Fast. Away from Jonathan. Away from the lies. Toward a future still unwritten. 6 months later, Jonathan Prescott, James Blackwood, was arrested, convicted, and died behind bars from advanced pancreatic cancer. In his final days, he signed a full confession. The necklace? Returned. Preserved in a glass case in my bedroom, not as a reminder of pain, but of strength. Sierra opened an art gallery in Portland, funded by her share of the recovered assets. We still talk. Strangely, she's become something like family. Rachel reconnected with Lily, who now knows the truth. We're planning to meet next month. She wants to know her half-siblings. As for me, I stood on the cliffs of Maui, wind in my hair, watching the sun sink into the ocean. I was finally free, not just from a man, but from a life that never truly belonged to me. I am Margaret Dawson, and this is just the beginning. What did you think of the story? Did you feel the twist coming? Who was your favorite character, and who surprised you the most? Did you feel the emotions? The betrayal? The courage? If you love this story, comment the number 100 below to let us know you're part of the community. We'd love to know, where are you watching from? Drop your country below. And don't forget to share this video with someone who loves a story filled with secrets, strength, and sweet revenge. Until the next tale, stay brave. Stay curious.